Welcome to USAEBN's Lighthouse Flash Report FR180402, Epidemic Hazard Plague. Now, the plague we're talking about here, folks, is the Black Death, the bubonic plague, the plague of the Middle Ages. So it's still here, okay? It happens every year, okay? We have better medicine, better technology, better science. We know how to handle it nowadays. Plague is a disease that affects humans and other mammals. It is caused by the bacterium Yersinia persista. Jersey boy here, so you're lucky I got that close. Humans usually get plague after being bitten by a rodent flea that is carrying the plague bacterium, or by handling an animal infected with the plague. Plague is famous for killing millions of people in Europe during the Middle Ages. Now, today, modern antibiotics are effective in treating the plague. However, it has to be done early. Without prompt treatment, the disease can cause serious illness or death. It still kills people out here. And you're going to find out this is a level 4 biohazard. Presently, human plague infections continue to occur in the western United States, but significantly more cases occur in parts of Africa and Asia. That's because they don't have the medical treatments that we do, the medical facilities we do, or the science. So but we still have it, and that's what I want you guys to understand. In the western United States. However, with modern travel, it has shown up in Midwest, and I think there was one case on the East Coast, so it can travel. Each year, about 1,000 to 2,500 people get the plague every year across the world. Most of the time, that is in Africa and Asia, and we still get it here in the United States, and it's under 100 probably, but don't quote me on that. Now, like I said, the plague is a level 4 biohazard. There's only 4 levels, so and level 4 being the highest, that's where the plague sits in. Viruses and bacteria that causes severe to fatal diseases in humans, and for which vaccines and other treatments are not available, such as, and there's a list here, hemorrhagic fevers, Ebola, Marburg, bird flu, hantavirus, Lassa fever, they're all level 4 diseases. When dealing with a biological hazard at this level, the use of a hazmat suit and a self-contained breathing apparatus or self-contained oxygen supply is mandatory. This is what we call the space suit, big bird suit, fully encapsulated suit. So you've seen that in situations in the streets, but this is what happens, and this is how you dress when you're in a level 4 biolab. The entrance and exits contain multiple showers, a vacuum room, ultraviolet room, detection systems, and other safety precautions. And that's all designed to destroy any trace of the biohazard. Now, multiple airlocks are employed, and they're electronically secured to prevent both doors from opening at the same time. Okay, so one's going to open, you're going to walk in, it'll close, you get air sucked out, or whatever the determination is, whatever the decon is, and then the next door opens. Now, here's a little tidbit for you, a little factoid. There's the children's rhyme, Ring Around the Rosary, or Rosie, actually originated through the Black Plague of the 1500s. And here, we didn't sing it right, I know I didn't, but here's where it comes down from. Ring around the roses, pocket full of posies, eschew, we all fall down. Now, I know I said ashes to ashes, okay, or eschew. Here's the definition of it. The ring of roses refers to the bleeding under the skin. When you got the plague, you got that was your sign. The pocket full of posies refers to a small bag of herbs or flowers that people carried to ward off the plague. Many thought the disease was caused by foul air. I've met a lot of people, okay, who have foul air around them. We would have a culling of our population if that was the case. But honestly, folks, this is an example of how their medical systems were back then and ours. So we know a little bit better, and our science is a lot better. The sneezing was a symptom of the disease. Eschew. All fall down means that following the sneezing was death. So it wasn't, and I've read this in diaries before, it wasn't unusual that people would catch the plague at breakfast and they were dead by dinner. That's how quick it can go. Now, there's 3 different types of plague out there, okay? And you need to understand the difference between them all. Bubonic, which causes the lymph nodes to swell. Septemic, which comes about when the plague goes into the bloodstream. So that's the flea bite. So if a flea bites you or a cat scratches you and they got the plague, you're going to get this type of plague. And then pneumonic, which is a type of pneumonia. And this is where it gets from person to person. Because of the droplets and the sneezing, you're spreading it to other people. And it's not unusual to have one type in the beginning and get the pneumonic at the end. Now here is a map of all the cases of the plague since 1970 to 2012. As you can see, there's a concentration in the Four Corner area. California got some all the way up the West Coast, but we do have one that is just in Illinois, and it looks like Chicago. Why? Modern transportation. Now, transmission of the plague. Plague is usually found in rodents, mainly prairie dogs nowadays. It's transmitted through the fleas they carry. Plague is often identified when there is an unusual die-off of prairie dogs in the area. When an infected animal dies, the fleas leave the carcass to find another host, thus spreading the disease. So the animal control guys in a certain area in the counties, they're on the lookout for a certain time frame when we're seeing a die-off of animals. And when they see a die-off, they'll isolate the area, take some tests, and figure out why. Most human plague cases occur when humans are bitten by infected fleas. Less commonly, people are infected by direct contact with blood or tissue from the infected animal or from pets that become infected and transmit the disease. Now, blood and tissue, if you have a pet that has plague, it's going to die. And it can get messy at the end. So with that, you're going to have to clean up. You want to have personal protection at all times, especially if you live in the West Coast or the Western United States. And hantavirus, plague, it's all going to be out there. Now, a little bit more of a transmission. You can have a flea bite, direct animal contact, that's tissue, bodily fluids, scratches, or bites. So here's what I want you to understand. If you have a cat that has the plague and he scratches you, it can transmit the plague to you, okay? That's called septemic plague. It enters through the break of the skin. If it gets into the bloodstream, it can be aerosol. Now, that's human to human, which is pneumonic. Human cases. Now, here's another trick. It usually happens between April and November, so spring to fall. That's when the animal population is growing. That's when all the births have happened. The fleas are abundant. And when one dies, it goes to another. So let's say animal A has 100 fleas, and it dies. Well, animal B and C are going to get 50 each. Now, those two have it, and it multiplies that way. Increase activity of fleas in the host. Now, prevention and control. And this is going to be both government and personal. Isolate infected animals. So if you have a cat, you have a dog that has the plague, isolate it. Limit the number of people in contact with it. Use your personal protection. That's going to be surgical masks, gloves, eye protection. If you find a dead rodent, you want to use that personal protection also to remove that rodent. Flea control. If you have a problem with fleas in your area, you want to start working with and developing plans with the animal controls and exterminators out that way to do a flea control schedule. Dogs and cats, you want to control their fleas. Remember, spring to fall. And then you want to control your environment. Your environment can be wood piles and stuff like that. So a little bit more about your environment. Prevention and control of your environment. Prevent roaming or hunting of pets. So your cat, you don't want to hit the cat going out and get a dead mouse. Okay? And you don't want the dog roaming the woods. Rodent control. Eliminate rodent habitats around the home. Brushes, food sources, firewood, or junk around the area. They love to hang in there. Undertaken only after insecticide is used. So you want to eliminate it after you use insecticide. Okay, you want to decontaminate it first and then try to use it. But you're still wearing your PPE, your personal protective equipment. Insect repellents for skin and cloths, and insecticides used for other areas, outside areas. Now, you want to repel this insects because what you're doing is repelling the fleas also. They're part of the insects. Now, public health education is another prevention and control measure the government will use. They'll try and educate you. That's what we're doing here. We're also helping you, educate you, so you know what's going on and you can better prevent yourself and control your environment. Antibiotics, plague outbreak, flea bites, that's when they're going to ship the antibiotics to that area. Handle infected animals. If you handle infected animals, you're going to need to get some antibiotics. Close contact with plague cases. So that's more likely for nurses or family members. If you got somebody in your family that got plague, you're going to be treated for plague also. You're going to get vaccinated. Live and kill developed. And what they're talking about here is you want to be, the vaccine, some will be live and some will be dead viruses. No longer available in the United States. So the vaccine is no longer available in the United States, but antibiotics does the same thing. Now, prevention and awareness, if you see animals, report suspected animals of the plague or large die-offs, and you report them to the county animal control officials, state health departments also. State veterinarians, animals may serve as sentinels. So that's a good point here. And you can use this in quite a few different ways. Yes, I have pets. I love my pets too. But you know what? In reality, they're my sentinels. If there's something bad or foul in that area, they're going to die off first. And that's what I want them for. So I love Rover, but Rover's going to protect me and the family, okay, the humans. So they are your sentinels. Now, education of clients and the public. We got to know about the risk, transmission, and prevention, which we've already covered here. Take precautions outside in outside areas, and what they're talking in these two is the woods, the uncontrolled areas. All right, that concludes the flash report for the plague.